What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. My name is Joe, and I got my goddamn volume on still. There we go. It's just this crazy reverberating echo. I don't know if you guys can hear it. So I had a very crazy, stupid morning. Before we get into this, I'll tell you about my wonderful technical difficulties. All day I was having trouble with my computer. This computer right here that I'm sitting in front of. It's a MacBook Pro 2019. It's like practically brand new. It wouldn't connect to the internet, wouldn't connect to my Wi-Fi connection. If I go in here and I plug into the my actual hardwired cables, everything worked. So internet was fine. I restarted the computer 3-4 times. I restarted. Well, my kids are working, and I was just like, fuck it, I don't care. I pulled the plug from my damn router and replugged it back in. Everybody lost their Zoom meetings because I was like, I'm like, this is clearly an issue with this thing, right? It's not me. It's gotta be this. So sat there trying to figure out what the hell this could potentially be all day. Just sitting there trying to figure this out. I'm like, this has got to be something that I'm doing wrong. What else did I do? I restarted. I changed my freaking DNS settings. I'm thinking, because yesterday I made a change to my DNS settings for from I think to Cloudflare from Google, something like that. I made the change to 1.1.1.1. So I changed it back. First I changed it to I tried using the ad blocker one that I was using. I forget which one that was, but it's great. That's always worked fine. So I changed it to that. Still didn't work. Then I just said, screw it. Let me take this out and just use my system, whatever came with FiOS, that DNS. Did nothing. So I'm like, okay. I just said, I got to do some work today. I'm going to just freaking tether to my phone, because my phone, it's working. The Wi-Fi on my phone is working. Now I know when I tether, it's going to just drop automatically to cell signal, but I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'll just use cell then for the day. I got to get some stuff done. And that was working. So I did that from basically at 11 o'clock this morning. And I go upstairs for lunch at around noon. I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, I don't understand what the hell this could possibly be. I've done everything. I've changed everything. I haven't done any. And then it hit me. I was like, son of a bitch, I think I know exactly what this is. So we have a mesh wireless network in the house called Amplify. The thing is awesome. It's this little cube. It's on my desk. But it allows us to have a mesh network throughout the entire house. That way we have really good signal everywhere. It's awesome. I love it. I recommend it. I'm not paid for that. I just do recommend it. But it also gives you the ability to pause internet on individual devices that are connected to your network, which is great. I use that for my kids all the time. It can just be, we pause the devices at night to make sure that they're not on any devices at any hour, at all given hours of the day. It allows us to, I pause devices if they're punished. They're just all types of different random things like that. So I realized that, and I knew I did this too. Yesterday, I have my old MacBook Pro, which is from 2013 or something, that I let my kid play Minecraft on. I paused that MacBook Pro. Turns out it was the wrong computer. I paused, and they're both named Joe's computer or Joe's MacBook or something like that. So yeah, I paused the internet on my own freaking machine, and I spent hours this morning going batshit crazy trying to figure out why my fucking internet isn't working, and it's because I'm an idiot, basically. So yeah, that was my morning. That was a good couple of hours that I spent thinking about trying to figure this thing out, trying to why is this not working, only to figure out that I'm an idiot. So that's over now. It's Thursday, which is nice. I don't know why, because we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic, and it's not like I'm going to be doing anything amazing this weekend. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing I did last weekend, which is the exact same thing I've been doing for the past 9 months, which is hanging out in my house. But it's still nice that it's Thursday. It's still kind of good. So, all right, let's dig into this stuff now. All right, I've been working with Laravel Cashier, and yesterday I kind of spent more time just kind of playing with it and trying to really kind of grasp all the different things that it can do for me. And I got that, and I got some interesting ideas on how we can play around with it. Last night, the only thing I did that I didn't show you guys was I did two things. I created a drop down for this, and I kind of just changed the color of that. So I wanted this to be more like an actual drop down, so I wanted to just put the drop down code in there. It's super simple stuff. I also, that kind of helps to make sure that the this thing works better. So it's this view now here. You can switch. Actually, all these things just log you out. But it's basically you can log the person out, or you can go to their profile or switch workspaces if they happen to have multiple workspaces. You can click this drop down and do the other stuff. So one of the things I was playing around with yesterday was this is the page that I had so far for the customer information. So I want to change this page. What I did yesterday, and I left it in the other room. It's fine. I don't need it. I remember it now. What I did was I sat down and I kind of just sketched this page out. So that's something I'm going to do in the future too. I want to make sure that I've sketched out these pages, just so that way I actually know exactly what I want to put on the pages. Just I hand drew some ideas here that I'm going to work on. So today I'm just going to kind of fill that in and make this kind of look a little bit better, move some things around. And just kind of refactor this page and make sure we get all the different pieces working. So first thing I want to do is we're going to change this sidebar a little bit. So let's go over here. So this is the dashboard page that I had open. I just removed the words "welcome to the dashboard." I don't need, I have two headers on these pages and they don't need two headers. So if you look at the dashboard page, this is more or less what I want it to kind of be, with the content basically starting right in around this area now. But I don't need to have welcome to the dashboard. That's pretty stupid. So especially since I have this, I might put in up here a breadcrumb, maybe, if that's necessary. Right now there's no necessary, I don't see a reason for that, but might have it. But billing, I want to change the name of that to customer settings or something like that. So let's go over to the main navigation.view file, which is where this is. Nope, it's in sidebar, sorry. Sidebar.view. This is where we have the links for everything so far. So we have the dashboard up there, which is definitely fine. This is going to be customer settings. I'm probably going to have two settings pages now that I think about it. So maybe I'll just call this settings, and then they'll both live under there. Because if you think about it, there's two different levels of settings, minimum. There's settings on the workspace. So you might be able to you're going to probably set those things differently, or you may have the ability to. And then you have settings for the customer, which is the billing settings and your domains and all that stuff. So that has to be separate. That has to be two different things. So we want to make sure that we treat those as such. So, okay, great. We're here. We got that taken care of. That's nice and easy. Let's move this also to the bottom, because I think that's really what that makes sense. Manage custom URL does not make sense there, because that's going to be inside of settings. Again, manage workspace. This is going to be inside of settings also. And then manage members. So this is not going to, I don't want to say, we'll just say members. That'll be whatever our inertia link is to the members section of the page, of the site. Yeah, that looks good for right now. There's also going to be, which I don't, there's going to be at least one thing in here. So I can I'll put that in for now. I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but there's two other things in here that I want. Reporting. And this is for super admins. So this is going to be super admin reporting. And then there's going to be something which I have no idea what exactly I'm going to call this. Again, this is a super admin thing. It's probably a customer service layer. So it's I'll just call it customer service for now. the idea of the customer service layer is going to be, that's where you go. So somebody says, hey, I'm having an issue. They call you, they send you an email, say, my thing is not working. This is not looking the way I expect it to. You're going to be able to click into the customer service, enter the URL, and then it's going to grant you access to the site as a user for that site. And I'll give it a couple, like, you'll be able to like manually set your role. So how it's the concept, not exactly how it's going to work it, but the concept is going to be, you enter the URL, you are super admin. So what it's going to do then is say, okay, great, you know, tell us where you want to go. You give it that, and then you give it a role for your user, and then I'm going to inject that user in some sort of state that's going to allow the user to be, again, injected, logged in as that thing, but then they're going to be logged out eventually. So maybe it only gives you a half hour to do it or something like that. It gives you just a certain amount of time as this type of user that you can then log in and play around with the site in the state that it's currently in. And then when you log out, it deletes you as a user. So they'll never see you again, or they won't know that you're in there. And we'll have to work through that. But that's kind of what my concept is for customer service. Like, it's a way of being able to go into the site, not as the actual user, but as yourself as a user for the site. So it's kind of like you're faking login into this thing. So you can see what the problem is. And it's important to be the role, because I don't want to make you a super admin in there. I want, especially if something's dependent on a role. So if somebody calls you up and they say, hey, I'm an admin of this site and I can't see the widgets. So you log in, change your role to admin, and then you can see what they're seeing, hopefully. Or, you know, they're like, I'm a member, and then you log in, you're like, no, I see all this, and they say, are you sure you're a member? Go check over here. What does it say that you are? And they're like, oh no, I'm a limited access person. And then you change your settings, and then you see what limited access would see, and then you can tell them, oh no, that's fine. That's the way you're supposed to see it. You might need to be something else. So that's kind of the concept of what customer service is. Again, these two things are super admin only. This is owner only. And this is where we start getting into like editors maybe having access to this. Like, this is kind of like an elevated user that can access membership information. So this is probably just going to be your running list of your members, where you can add new ones, delete users, do that type of thing. So we'll have to kind of still work on all of that. Oh, and then there's the secondary pages. Where are those? So the secondary stuff right now is just your own profile. So that's just clicking on this button and just going to, it's essentially taking you to your user, where you can go and update all of your information. And then switching workspaces. This is going to take you to that choose page. So we're going to have a page that allows you to, if you have more than one workspace, you'll be able to go in there and kind of switch out and swap out to whatever you want. That's the whole thing. That's really, at the moment in time, all I think this system that you're seeing in front of you is going to do. Because there's nothing else it should do, as far as I'm thinking about it. The way I think about this whole software and this whole piece is that this is, remember, like, this is kind of like Laravel and Vue are obviously the infrastructure of the whole thing and the piping of how this whole thing works. But then there's this thing on top of it, which I'm kind of considering like a meta framework that's going to power all the different applications that we build on top of it. So this stuff is all of the what I would call like generic stuff that all applications should be able to do: log in, log out, manage the workspaces, manage the members that are in there, be able to like see invoices, and that's it. After that, there's nothing. Like, I don't want the users to do too much more, or I don't want this to do too much more. Then I want the software to get more. To do more like specific for what that is. Then it's like, let's say you're making a content management system. Well, that's when the content management gets the ability to create pages and delete pages and all that stuff. Like, that's not something that the generic thing does. So that's the concept and the whole idea here, if you've not followed along, which is totally fine. But if you want to follow some of my older videos, they're all over on my YouTube channel. You can check them out there. I think Twitch also keeps them for a little while, but I don't know how long it stays on Twitch. But you can watch those. You can kind of see a little bit of how we got to this point where we have the login system working now. Let's see here. Let's go out here. Boop. eventually log us out. Says, you know, that stuff where we can go, we can register, we can use Stripe to actually pay because it's all just test Stripe stuff. So you can pay for everything. So it's all kind of working, and it's all sitting up on GitHub too. So you can go to my GitHub repo and take a look at everything. But let's log back in. What's my password? Okay, there we go. I think I remembered it correctly. Cool, I did. Good. Back in here, let's go over to our settings page. This is what I want to now change and work on. So let's just close out these things. I'm going to change the name of this stuff too, again, because I like to make sure I'm just one that I want to make sure the naming conventions, everything kind of matches. That's just me being a little, maybe being a little crazy, but I feel like when the names match up, it just, I don't know, it works better. Like you understand where everything is. So I just changed that name in there, and I want to change this to settings. That'll now blow up a whole bunch of things because that's saved there. Okay, so we've saved those. Oh, I got all the routes. Rebase, Workspace. Workspace is where we're doing all the Workspace fun stuff. So customer settings. Settings, class, settings. I'm not using these anywhere yet, so I think that's fine to just do that there. All right, so we've changed all that. I think, oh, it'll break because I gotta rerun Ziggy. Yarn watch. If I did everything right, it won't blow up. All right, didn't blow up, but it's good. So yarn's going. Cool. As that's all going good there now. All right, let's now go into here and okay, I definitely want to move this out today too. So let's just start with that real quick. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move out invoices. There's no reason to have the invoices in here. This yesterday was more just, I wanted to play with it, see how it worked, see if it did work or if there was going to be any problems with it. So this is definitely not going to be here. Let's go to route, get. I want to also change the URL a little bit. So I think we're going to go customer settings, invoices. And if I can spell it, invoices /ID, and that's my invoice ID. All right, and then the class for this will just be customer. I guess I'll do a show. Right? Is that show or is that, I never remember there's kind of a naming convention. I think Laravel follows it too, where it's just like show, edit, index, all those things. I don't always follow it, but I try to a little bit. So we're going to just say this is a show. Show invoice. And I'll go back over here. So, okay, that's that. I obviously have to create that. Let's copy this out. And go over to our settings page. I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to lose the thing I just copied. CV, show invoice. All right, so show invoice is going to obviously show the invoice. Not too hard there. Not too hard to understand what that's doing. And where did I just put that junk? Cool thing is there's really not much code that actually goes into showing the invoice. Just pull up our repository. We get the customer with their subscription. We get the customer we get the ID from with the ID that we've already saved. That pulls in the customer, and then we can just call download invoice off the customer with the invoice ID. And then obviously we have to change the product name and stuff in there too. So I'll put these into the config values because That's where I think they make the best sense. So you can kind of go into your configuration and change that, like the name, like you're not changing the name of your company once that's kind of a set thing. So there's no reason to have these in like 60 different places. All right, and then we need the string for our invoice ID. Okay, so that's that. That should be it. That should just do it for us. What? Invoice ID. What don't you like? Oh, it went void. I didn't see that. Okay, so that takes care of those things. That's now just string pulling in the invoice, pulling downloads the invoice for us, and we're good to go. Yeah, sweet. All right. Oh, now let's go back over to our settings view page, and I think I might have to change the... No, I shouldn't have to change the URL at all. Where I'm going to need to change some things is actually how I'm getting that URL. So that's what I'm going to need to do. This can go away. Don't save that crap. So yeah, what I was doing inside of here, you see all my commented out junk just playing around with this. We did grab the, so once we got the customer, and this I want to move over to an invoice mapper or into one of my filters. All right. Yeah, so what I'm doing on this page right now, there's no, go back here for a moment. That's in sidebar again. Change out the settings. Yarn saved. It might, I don't know if it'll work or if I gotta, okay, cool, it did work. Sometimes you change these things. I never remember what, like, Ziggy's funny because it has to, like, once you save it, you have to, once you make the change in it, like if you change your route, you got to rerun Ziggy. So I never know sometimes when I make these changes whether or not I've run Ziggy again. I can never remember. All right, so this is now what points to our, this is our downloading our invoice, but that's obviously not going to work because our link is wrong. Our link here is pointing to customer billing invoice. I should be able to just actually use the route inside of here. So what I should be able to do is say, link route, I think it's route name, request name. I'll have to, I'm probably flubbing this, but that's fine. Let's go over, Rebase workspace. Why don't we name it? That would probably be pretty good. Name invoice. So customer, well, I called it show invoice, so I'll do show.invoice. Okay, and then I think I can say route.name, and then here's where I can pass in the ID. Okay, so maybe I don't need that. Maybe I can just do it like this. Let's see what that does. Customer settings invoice, that looks correct. Boom. Let's double check that it actually is the correct thing. Hey, look at that. All right. So that's pretty awesome and easy to do, right? There's really, the only thing we're doing here is we're grabbing the customer with our subscription. So this is just a repository pattern that I'm using here, and I'm just grabbing, I have this thing to actually also get the subscriptions, which you can see I did that in the last video, based on the customer ID. Save out, we grab our customer, and then we just map over our customers, because I don't need all the data. Or from the invoices, like I just need a few pieces. Really, at this point, all I need is the date, the total, the link, and the ID. I honestly don't even think I need the ID. No, I'm using the ID. I am using the ID on the front end too. So, yeah, that's totally it. That grabs us all this stuff. So let's refactor this page just a smidge, because I got a lot of crap in here. So we can get rid of all of our notes for now. I also, okay, so in this case, I'm doing, like, I'm returning the invoices and I'm using the same, like, there's a lot going on here. But I'm really only using ever the invoice list. So this is really the only thing I need. So I don't need that. That's one. That can go away, which is nice. I also, I'm going to convert this over to a filter that I have. So what does that mean? What the hell am I talking about with filters? Let's go look at my domain real quick. So I like the repository pattern. I think it's a decent pattern if you use it. I don't want to say correctly, but like if you use it for more, like, how do I put this in a way that doesn't, I like Active Record. I think Active Record is great. I don't really have a problem with it. Some people have they're like, Active Record is an anti-pattern. I don't give a shit if it's an anti-pattern or not. I think it's fine. Some people have a problem with it. Fine, you have a problem with it. That's totally fine. It works. But I also do like the idea of having just a smidge more control over where things go. There's always the debate, fat models, fat controllers. I don't want either one of them fat. I want to have them, I want to have everything skinny controllers, skinny models. Just, I don't want anything that way. So what I do is I use the repository pattern. But again, the repository pattern is funny when you're working with Active Record, because there's, I guess, like the one thing you end up doing, or the one thing I see a lot of people do with it, is it just becomes kind of a dumping ground for everything that would normally be in your model. So instead of saying in your model, like, customer get foo, you've just moved that over to the repository, and then it becomes repo get foo, which I don't see necessarily a benefit to that, and I don't see why you're just doing that. So I kind of try to make my repositories useful. And again, I only do this when I have a project that's large enough. Otherwise, I'm totally cool with using just models and facades and things that Laravel gives you. But again, when I have a large enough project like this, I want to go with repos. And why I use repos over query scopes is because I like to have everything come back complete. So that's the other thing. I know a lot of people like using query scopes for Laravel, which again is really awesome. But then what you end up doing, which I don't want to do, which is just a personal preference, you end up having to then push all that stuff to the edge of your application to the controller, which is not necessarily bad. It's just a thing you have to do. And then you have in your controller, you have, like, customer, where foo, where bar, get, map, whatever. You're doing all this stuff inside of your controller, which I don't know. It's not bad. It's just not where I want to do that, because it's just not what I want to do. What I like to do is have things that are very descriptive and that do the work in a self-contained way. So this is why I have a repository right here, customer repository, that says get customer with subscriptions. So now this does the querying for me, returns, based on the ID, will return back the data, and it already does the get or the first or the whatever I need in the background. So I know that this is now, like, fully hydrated the way I want it to work, and I can just use it however I want. The next part of that, though, and this is where my thinking goes with repositories, is that repositories, like, if you were using Symfony or you were using Java or something else, the repository pattern makes better sense when you're using, like, the entity mapper or like data mapper pattern, right? And all that type of stuff. So that's where it kind of makes good sense, because all your interactions with the database ends up happening inside of the repository. Well, I want to kind of mimic that a little bit inside of this. So what I do then is I have essentially my repositories do three things for me. They do control, like, querying the database, large scale. So, any type of querying I put into the thing. It's right here. I do what you could call it probably like a builder pattern, but I usually end up calling it like a factory, but it's not the same factory models as Laravel, but I say it's like, it kind of works as the factory. I want it to create, read, or I want it to create and delete and update my models also for me. So I want it to kind of handle all that stuff. And then I also want it to help when I need to filter my data. Again, something like this is interesting and is probably going to be, potentially could be reused in multiple places. Maybe not, maybe they wouldn't work for whatever reason, but I don't want this to be in my controller either. So I want to be returned data, or I want to be returned the data that I'm going to use. Like my controller, the way I always think of controllers is just as a place to marshal all the content that I need to send over to the front end. And I don't want to do too much in here. So that's kind of my thinking on this. So to facilitate that, I have in my domain here, let's bump the content up here a little bit so everybody can see this. I have in my domain folder, so I just have a domain folder that has my models, my what I call factories, and my filters, and my repositories. So the repository is kind of like the BL, like the boss of everything, right? So that kind of marshals all of it. So here's the Eloquent customer repository, which I have a facade for it, and I use that because I like that. Generally speaking, well, here's the base repository, just so you can see that. That's where I start off with it. So if there's anything that's just generic, this is where the generic stuff goes. I don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time. If there's something super generic, that can go in here. So here is, so we have obviously three very generic functions. Or methods. Get all, which is just going to return a collection, get by ID, and this, cache function. So I already have caching built into this for me too. So it already handles, so all I have to now do is call like this cache, and it'll take care of caching my data for me when I need to. And I don't need to use this at all if I don't want to. So if there's not every method needs to be cached or should be cached, right? Like you're not going to get authenticated, find authenticated user is probably not something that should be cached, or maybe it should, depending on the way your system runs. But when you're trying to get certain pieces of data, it's probably not a good idea to cache it. So put that in here. That's all kind of handled. And then I have these three functions in here that I call. One's called filter and one's called factory. So model factory does my creating, my reading, my creating, my updating, my deleting. And you can see that inside of here. So again, it just takes a model and does the creation stuff for me. Does the this is again, this is very generic updates. I'll probably have upserts in here at some point too, potentially, because I like that. Here's removing. How do I remove data from certain places and certain things? Again, these are super generic. But then what this allows me to do, go back here, is that since I'm just calling new customer, or since this factory, I can override it. Like since this is when I'm in my customer repository. So here's my Eloquent customer repository. If I need to build very specific methods for creating a model of some sort, I can override those. So now I have customer model factory inside of here. Again, these model factories have nothing to do with the Laravel model factories. I might be able to use them in some way, but I haven't even attempted that because it's not that big of a deal. So customer model factory extends the standard model factory, so it still has all of those same methods and everything inside of here built in. Here I have a subscribe. So this does the new subscription stuff for me, grabbing the test plan, getting all the options, sending all that stuff over, and then returning the model. So does does all of that, does all the saving, everything I need to do. And then this is where I do things like, well, okay, what does it mean to be active as a customer? So that's, in this case, I have a mark as active method. And then this just takes the model and it updates the customer status as active. I don't want this. It's easy to put this stuff in your controller, but there may be multiple places where you need to do this. And again, to me, that feels like a weird kind of little code smell at times when you have like 3 places that need to update the status of something and you're calling update 3 different times. I'd rather just say mark as active and then be done with it. So that's what these things do for me. So filters, let's see, let's look at the generic. Yeah, the generic model filter doesn't have anything in it. Let's look at the workspace filter. So what I did in the workspace filter here is I needed to, this just kind of, you can think of this as like the way I'm like checking complex data. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, the activation, activation at different hours is less than the, so this is the function I needed for when I'm activating a new workspace. I need when we get the tokens into the system, I need to know that the token hasn't expired yet. So this is where I just do that. I say activation is on time. So if activation on time returns true, then I know you haven't passed what I call activation hours, whatever that is. In this case, I think the generic is 72 hours. If it doesn't return, if it returns false, then I know that this workspace needs to be like, I need to renew the token or something like that. That's kind of how these things work. So filters are playing with the data, manipulating maybe the controller, or not a controller, sorry, it's manipulating whatever model I may have back in my hands. So now I got a customer, or I got the workspace here. Now I'm like checking to make sure that it's working the way I want it to, or doing something. And to me, this code just nice. It fits nice in just kind of a private, or not private, in just a nice little class like this. So that's what that does. So here in the settings page, this looks like a really good place to kind of map over our invoices. Like that kind of seems like all this information, this would be perfect to go into a filter of some sort. So now I can say inside of here, invoices is equal to customer repository filter customer. So we're filtering this particular customer, which means like we're looking at that one. And then we say, I don't know, I may just call this map invoices. Map invoice data. And I mean, I could even make this more complex if I wanted to at some point, where maybe I pass in like what data I want. So like we pass in this array, let's say. For the first pass of this, I don't think I need to do that. But that's, yeah, let's take this out. Obviously this function doesn't, this function doesn't work yet. So before I remove this, let's go put it into our factory. So do I already have a model factory here, or a model filter? Sorry. No, I don't. So I need to create a new one. So this is, and see, this is kind of the way I work again, where I'm not making a factory and a filter and a thing for all of these items because you don't need it. It's like the filters, I may not need a filter on something else, another model, and I didn't hear for customers until now. So now I go in and I say, okay, well, let's copy this out. Customer filters. Customer filters, extends that, takes customer model. There we go. So, oh, and let's get rid of that. Now, if I go back over to the, Eloquent customer repository, I can go here and I can say filter model. This one you always have to, it can't be null. You have to pass in a model. And then I can say customer filters. See, with the factory, you don't necessarily have a model to give it. You would give it a model if you were trying to update something, but you don't give it a model if you're creating a new one. So you would just say factory create. And obviously at that point, it doesn't have a model. So it can just take kind of the generic concept of what is a model here, like just a generic workspace or a generic whatever, and use it. But filter, you got to filter by something. So you have to actually have a model that you're passing into this that gets that. I haven't put in any sort of guide rails on this at this moment in time. So right now it's just like, it'll take it. And then if you don't give it anything, it'll just blow up. That'll have to be refactored. But for right now, this works really nicely. I'm kind of also just proving this out too to myself that this does work. And Terminix is calling me. No, thank you. Okay. That's always funny when you're working on stuff and talking about I'm proving this out because there might be bugs, and then Terminix calls me. That's wrong bugs, guys. Just sorry. All right. Dad jokes over. Let's get this stuff going. So we have customer repositories, good there. Okay, customer filter, this model, yada yada. Okay, now what did I call this? I called it map invoice data. This model. And let's take this out of here. Oh, I gotta take invoices. I'm not gonna pass it the to array though. That should be it. Link. Comment that out. So I want to do it like that. Why? Because you never know if you're going to have to like do multiple maps for some reason, or there might be a reason where you're going to like do several things with the data. Like I could imagine a scenario where you're saying, okay, I'm going to map this to this other thing, and then I got to take that thing and put it into somewhere else, and I got to do something else to it, and then I have to transform that data before I spit. So imagine the scenario where you have to like filter several times, maybe through whatever even different repositories for whatever reason. In my head, at least, I see that is maybe not a good practice if that were to happen. Like maybe you should think twice if you're kind of filtering through multiple repositories. But there may be a reason why you need to get that data out. And I'd rather have it out as, in this case, I think this is an eloquent, if I remember correctly, yeah, everything I spit out is an eloquent collection. So I'd rather just make sure my repository, whenever it gives me anything back, the repository gives me back collections or the items themselves. Like, so either just a collection of models or the model, and that's it. And then I can just run a to array on it later. So that's kind of my thought process there. So that's just how and then by just doing that, then I kind of already know what data I got out of it, and then I can just to array it from there. So I think that works. Moment of truth, it should just all look the same if I refresh, but I may have broke something. Nope, I didn't. Sweet. And if I click this, it's still pointing to the same link, so I should be able to download. Yes, same thing again, and it gives me basically the same thing, just now PDF number 1. Awesome. Okay, so that was super easy. And a nice little refactor. Now, if you're sitting here and you're saying, what, like, you didn't do any dependency injection, why are you using these facades here? What do why do you do it that way as opposed to dependency injection? I just like the look of this a little bit better, if I'm being completely honest. Again, they're totally testable. The way I'm doing this thing, these repositories, I know they are, because I'm following basically the same pattern that Laravel does with its facades. So if I were to go here, workspace member here, I'm just returning the facade accessor, and then I have in my service provider, my service provider does the injection for, into AppBind and all that stuff. So this is all testable stuff. Like, you can definitely go in and test anything you want in here. Yeah, and I made this all deferrable, so it doesn't actually. Now, I'm not 100% sure how deferrable works. It either works, I know the way it's supposed to work is that it doesn't like actually do the binding, I believe, until you like the first time you call the thing. Here's what I don't know for sure. I think, which is why it has this provides function down here. It literally doesn't do, it does look like if I call lookup repository the first time, that's when it does this binding. Or if you call ban slug, or if you call this. So it's individually loading these things when I call them the first time. So, which is nice, which is, I think that's how it works. It's either that, or the first time I call member repository, it binds all of them. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's the first way, where it's just like, okay, call member repository. Oh, wait, we got to bind. Yep, okay, here you go. Does the bind, and then it goes on its merry way. So I just like the deferrable provider because I don't like, this doesn't need to be registered all at the same time. And again, I do this. So that's just kind of how I work. It keeps everything. To me, this keeps everything nice and clean. I feel like this is a really super clean controller now, which I like. I like it when my controllers are super clean. I like it when my models are super clean. This just looks pretty, I think this is pretty understandable what it's doing. Now, I think a person could easily have a question like, what the hell is a filter, or where is this? Like, what is this and what is that? But if I said, hey, there's a problem, we're not mapping the data correctly in there, let's go take a look at it. This becomes, I think, a little bit easier to say, okay, clearly we're getting a customer there, like here, all right. And oh, this is doing some sort of, this is where the map is happening. So that's my thinking on the whole thing anyway. And I've just seen, for me personally, I know it's a debunked theory, but if you ever heard of the theory of broken windows, it's slightly, I believe it's mostly debunked, but the idea was that like when one window breaks in something, then all the windows break, so just if you replace that window quickly, it kind of it makes sure that the whole thing, like, it doesn't the rest of the building doesn't get destroyed. Again, I think that's been kind of a debunked theory, but the theory works. I feel like it works for my code. Like if I let the controllers start to get the shit, then I'm just like, next thing I know, I'm like, well, why don't I use in here? I'll just, I know it's invocable, but I'll just, public function. Like I just start putting crap in places that it shouldn't be. So the cleaner I can keep my code when I start setting up the whole thing, the better off I am. Anyway, so, okay. So we've mapped this data. We got this thing working. That's looking beautiful. We have our arrays. Sweet. Now let's go make this page not look so ugly. That, I think, is the next best step here. So what I want to do for this page, how I'm going to have this work is you're going to go into the customer settings. And what I want to do is, I think I want to have kind of a dividing line here somewhere. So imagine like 3/4 of the white part of the page being devoted to some screens that have like maybe just some text boxes where you can edit something. And then on the other side, that's where I'm going to list so imagine 2 panels almost. There, 2 panels, 1 and 2. In the smaller panel on the right-hand side, that's where I'm going to put like your current listings of what your current account is. And that's where I'm going to put a teeny tiny button to say, edit or cancel your account. And then on the other side, we'll put some other information that I think would be more beneficial to the person coming to this page. Which is probably where they would see the list of invoices and they can see their workspaces. I think that's how this is gonna work. So we'll give them a place to edit their workspace, or edit their address over on the right hand side. So let's start with that. Let's start playing around with that now that we got this data stuff figured out. And let me know your thoughts on the what I'm doing with filters and factories and repositories. I'm curious to see if anybody like has a really strong negative feeling about this, or if they like it, or if they're just like, whatever. I'm just curious. Like the idea came to me because I just wanted to try to keep everything clean, and I was tired of just dropping all my stuff into the repository, because then just like the repositories became a dumping ground where you can't necessarily find everything. So that's kind of my thinking on like, how do I make repositories cleaner? To me, this keeps it nice and clean, but I'm curious to see if anybody else sees any potential downsides actually with this. Like, is there anything that I'm not thinking about? Like, oh, you're gonna be boned when you get to this point in your site that I don't know about. Oh, and I'm gonna have to move this to product and vendor. I think I already have a. I don't want to pull up the env file. Hold on. All right, yeah, I have to go check my env file, but I'm not going to do that right this minute, because if I pull up the env file, then you can see it all. And I think there might be, I don't know where this name is, but I have names for some of these things I think that I can kind of pull in. But so I'm going to leave this alone for the time being. Let's go look at this page. This is our settings page. So let's make it not look so crappy. Customer settings. First thing. And it doesn't need to say hello to us, because why? Why does it need to say hello? All right, so we have our status button, which should not be a button. It's probably just going to be some sort of badge that tells us the status of this thing. But I think I'm going to put that also at the bottom right-hand side of the page. So really what I need at this moment are like a 2-column grid setup. Yeah, see, we got too much shit in here right now. I'm going to take that whole thing out of here, move it into here, just to make life cleaner. All right, now I'm going to have a 2-column grid. So we're going to say dot grid. They don't need to be centered, so I'm just going to grid. Grid it's using CSS grids, and it's grid. The word grid for me is equivalent to a row. So if you have a system that uses rows and columns, like this is the row thing. Col, well, the whole thing, I always do col 10. I have a 12-column grid, but I like to give it a little bit of breathing room. So do dot col 10 and dot col 10 to start off for both of them. This side, this one will also be, once we get to the small size screen, col 8. Let's do col 7. Then sm col 3. Yeah, I think we can go 3. Yeah, no, I don't want to be famous. And okay, so let's just see how this works. 7 to 10 and 3 to 10. So all that stuff should go away. Boom. 7 to 10, 3 to 10. So let me get to the right size. There we go. So now it's that's just the responsive nature of this whole thing. So now we have our nice little small screen, both of them going that way, back over to here. Okay, beautiful. So again, over on this side, this is where I want to put my product listing information. So this, I think this would make best sense to start off with whatever your product listings are. That would be the product name, right? So let's say, I don't actually have a product name for these things. I think I'm just calling it like awesome test account or something like that. So that'll be like, but I want that. And then I want just your details down here, which again, I'm not saving anywhere. I don't have details. So we're gonna have to build that in. That's actually gonna require me to probably re-up the data, remigrate the database and put some sort of columns in there that allow you to explain this data a little bit more. So let's just say, there we go. Yeah, because let's look at, hold on. Let's look at Table Plus for a minute. Unless it doesn't want to start up. One more time. Table Plus. Table Plus is being shy. That's weird. Finder. Let's reveal in Finder. Yep, there we go. It was just being sleepy. Oh, this is actually a little spiky. Something's up there. Okay, it's working now. Oh, we're getting a little beach ball there. I don't know. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on with Table Plus. This could have something to do with the fact that I've like stopped, started, restarted, practically threw my computer across the frickin' room this morning too. So maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's open Rebase. We'll just take this first database. That's fine. No, I don't think I would have anything in here. No, where would I? That's a good question. Where would I have put it? It would be under the customer table, so that's just shared. So multi-tenant database, multi-tenant, multi-DB database has obviously multiple tenants and multiple databases. So this is the shared database is the one that everybody shares. This is the customer database. So in customers, I have the name, the status, the address for them. Yeah, whether they've agreed to that, their Stripe keys. This is my subscription, and then I have subscription items, which subscribes me to the Stripe plan. I think this would no, see, okay, now this is not what I would want, where I would want to do it. I'm trying to think about where should I put this data, but I think I'm gonna have to just create a new subscription table that has that doesn't just list the customers, but like it's like the subscription data, so that lives in the database, and that's somewhere that we can go and kind of make changes to things. It lives in Stripe obviously too, right? So you go to Stripe to create all of your plans and all of your stuff, which I can't show because that's like Stripe. So but maybe there's a way I can get that data out of here. Like, because if you look at this, the way, I mean, obviously this doesn't have all the different plan types in it. This just has, here's like all of the active paying customers. So right now it obviously only has just the one. And the items, again, it's the same thing. I think this is going to list, you know, the plan as it gets added to Stripe, my Stripe ID. So this is like the user number one with their ID 1. And this is the plan they are subscribed to at this moment in time. So this can have, you know, 5,000 people in it, hopefully one day, with, you know, all paying for everything. But there's not that doesn't have, you know, Stripe is kind of being the arbiter of that information of like, here's what's in a plan, but not even really. Like, I don't like, Stripe just has like, the plan costs $80, the plan, you know, and you're allowed, you know, and these are some limits on it or whatever and whatnot, but it doesn't have details on that. So yeah, so I guess I need a new table called like plan details, and I get that data from there. I think that would probably be a good way of doing this. So then you can just update, add to that as your plans change. You could put your Stripe, I won't put my key. I wouldn't put my plan IDs or anything like that into there. Like this data, I don't. This is all fake data from Stripe, so I don't know if this Stripe key is something you should or shouldn't know necessarily, as like, you know, but I don't give a shit for this because it's dummy data. It's not real, so it doesn't matter. But there's probably data that shouldn't live in here. So that's something I'll have to figure out. Like, okay, what data shouldn't live in here? Like, I'm not going to put my Stripe keys. Anything that would be an env variable won't live in here. But anything that's just descriptive data should probably live in here. So, okay. So that'll be product descriptions. There'll have to be some sort of, you know, let's make another note in here. Hey, this would be awesome if there was a products table that showed some stuff. This would probably just be really good if you're marketing in general. You can keep all the data in one centralized place as you change things with your plans. This gets updated automatically, and then when a person comes to their page, they can understand, like, what did I get on this, like, what's in this plan? It just shows it down the column. That's kind of my thinking on the whole thing. All right, so plan name. Now if we go back here, we should just see nicely that listed over here in this 3-column area. Beautiful. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to make this 5. There's no reason to not take up all 12 columns, as far as I know. Cool. All right, so we have our product name, whatever that information, that's going to live there. Now over here, let's on this side, this is where we're going to put our address. I'm going to use a definition list here. I think that makes the most sense. And then we're going to say, oh, wait, DD is the definition data. So that's DL. Really. And the definition term here is billing address. DD, this will be whatever your billing address is. So I had this at one point, so let's grab it back from here. So customer line 1, I'm doing I don't know if there's a better way of doing this, but this is the only way I can think of doing it. Oh, this is also an address, so I want to put this in. I like to try to be semantic when I can be. So this would make sense to be an address. I did that yesterday too. I think the address isn't been deprecated or anything, so there's no reason to not use it. Yeah, this thing is funny. I don't know if there's a better way of doing this, but essentially all I'm saying here is like, hey, if you don't have an at line 2, don't keep these BRs here. So same thing for line 3, because these are, you know, you don't necessarily need them. Oh, I do have a unit number though, right? So the unit number should probably go like, what's the address look like for a unit number? I think it's like 123 Street, Apartments 4. I think that's, you know, PO Box 123. Yeah, I think it's like that. I think that's right. At least I think that's right for US addresses. So I'm going to do this and just say customer dot unit number. I think that's what I called it. So again, that can just, if that doesn't exist, that just goes away, which is nice. Shows these things if I happen to have it. There's our address, if I did that correctly. Boom, billing address, 123 Street Road, East Windsor, New Jersey. Sweet. Now I want to clean this up a little bit. So there's probably got to be, like, this has to look a little bit better, right? This is just kind of there. I want to make this more of a heading, and I want to make this. I don't want to make this whole thing edit. Like I don't think I want to have like it flip to edit. I think I'm just going to have an edit button that takes you somewhere, at least for now. Maybe one day I'll switch it to like do a flip for edit, which would like change all the lines to editable fields or something like that. But actually, I think there's two easy ways of doing this. That maybe I just keep it all here. So nah. I'm trying to think about, all of a sudden my brain started going into like, well, what if I just made it all inputs, hide everything, make it read-only, then you click a button and it adds a class that changes everything from read-only view to something, to edit fields, and then adds the button in there. That would work. That would definitely work. I just don't think I want to do it. Yeah. I don't know if I want to, like, that's the other thing. I want to keep this kind of generic because somebody else want to come in here and make these changes. They can totally make those changes themselves. I don't want to put too much of myself into this because I want other people to be able to come in and just swap these things out for whatever views they want. So this is here. That's fine. I think I'm going to put a button there though. So next to this, so there will be a small button. Button edit class is equal to button. We'll make it secondary, extra small. So these are my extra small buttons using the secondary styles, which is just an outline style. I think that's still going to be kind of big. Yeah, it's got a bunch of spacing in there. That's fine because we're going to increase the size of that. So for right now, I'm going to put the styles here, but they got to move somewhere too because definition lists are going to be used in a lot of different places. Lang equals CSS. So we're scoping this just for now, but I'm going to, and I'll have to come up with a name for this whole thing, I'm assuming at some point, but we'll say right now a definition list. DT inside of that font dash size will be abstract. Pull in my abstract style so I can use font sizes and stuff. Var EX, let's make it 20. Probably going to put an underline in there too somewhere. All right, that worked. Meh. Font weight. I think I have bold. I don't remember what I named these things. Okay. Let's do 24. Okay, that's a good size. This is, why is that pushing down? Oh, all right, let's before we go into that, I got to figure out what that's doing there. Let's down here, DD. Actually, we're also, let's do a border bottom 1 pixel solid var color true gray 300. There we go. That's a little much in terms of line length. Maybe we change that to 5. The whole thing's going to push over though. Yeah, so I'd have to do 5. No, let's do @6, and then small call at @6, I think would work. I could push that over just a little bit. Nope, what am I doing wrong? You know what? Now wait, that should work. So I want to do column 6 columns wide. That's fine. Then I want to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I want to do 4 columns wide here, but I want to start this. I think it's maybe it's not what's the, can't remember my own grid stuff sometimes. Grid maker, grid. What is it? Only child. No. That's the normal grid. That's centered. Oh, did I get rid of it? I didn't even. Yeah, I guess I did. I had a concept originally in here that I would say, oh, no, for variant. This is it. At call number, yeah. Okay, call count. So that should be @-4, and it should start at that column, which is the number. Okay, so I should say colon at. So that's going that's going 1 to 6. So this should be @7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that should be, that should work. So yeah, just so SM is my media query. Column 6, that means span 6 columns. Column 4, span 4 columns. @7, meaning start at column 7. So that should produce a gap, or not. So now we got to figure out why there's no gap. Hopefully this is quick. All 6. Here, let's pop on the grid. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is what that is. @7. Oh wait, that should be @8, shouldn't it? Yeah, @8. That's all I did wrong. I don't count correctly. So now @8 means, yeah, give it a little bit of space and then have it span 5. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Call 5 @8. So yeah, call 6 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the 6th. And all right. Call 5 dash @8. Now I refresh. Should be a nice little spacing in there, and I should be able to close that out. Woo! Got a nice little, we got a larger gap in there, which is what I want for this page. All right. Cool. Let's clean up this little, I like the way this heading is looking, but why again is that? Why is this button? This is like baselined, and that's different. Is this got like some sort of margin around it that I'm not noticing? No. Well, that's weird. I don't know how easy that is to see, but oh, I bet you if I just, okay, I know what I can do there. It's just not centered, which is really what I want. So if I just say display flex, line items center, I think that should take care of that. Is it content or is it, it's not justify. It's looking betterish. Actually, I do probably want that pushed all the way over. Yeah, I do. Oh, that's just Mart. What the frick? What are you doing, button, all of a sudden? I don't know why it's doing that, but before I dig into that mess, let's double check that this is the actual line items center. Start. Display flex, and then we say line content center. Oh, it's only affecting this one, I think. I think what it's doing is not affecting the text node. So I'm just going to do this real quick. No, that didn't do anything. It is a flex item. Well, it's a flex item now. Was it a flex item before? I don't know if Chrome always tells you. So, okay, so this is the container. No, that's a flex item. Okay, so. Ooh. Margin auto. Nope. That's, oh, well. This is margin 0. Oh, I was doing inline flex on that. I was gonna say, I didn't think these buttons were. Where is the margin being set from? Auto, right there. Okay. I had auto in there and I didn't even realize it. All right, so that's gotta go. I don't think that'll affect anything else. So let's go in there and delete that button. So yeah, I don't know why I had that in there. To the display set to inline flex, which is what I wanted, but I had margin auto, which automatically takes all the rest of the space around an item and evenly distributes it. So that's what it was basically sent, like what it was doing a second ago here. If I don't go any further and I just do that, it's the margin auto trick of, you know, centering a column in a div or centering a div. So it's basically just saying, well, I'm this big and now I have this much extra space around me. Let me just auto it. And I think it's even, if you look closely, you can see that it's also doing it around the bottom and the top too a little bit, it looks like. So just margin 0. I don't think there's any reason for that to have any margin on it. If it janks up the rest of my site, I'll know. Nope. All right, good. No jank. All right. Okay, so that's good. That's there. That's better. Now I should be able to, and it's actually more centered, if that's the right word. More centered? Yeah. Okay, good. That's gotten rid of. I want to push this all the way over though, I think. I want to put this on the right-hand side of the page. Like billing address. Click over here, click like all the way towards the end of that line for the edit button. Do I have a variant for, I might already have like, no, it won't work that way. I don't have that. Never mind. I'll just justify, since I've already put a flex in here, I don't need this. I need to justify the content of space between. That should give me all the space in the middle. Yes. But what the heck happened to that button? Now there's extra. Something just happened to my button. Min height. No, what just happened there? Justify. It's not. That's align content, not doing something, I think. Align items. Yeah, align items. Did I get rid of? Did I delete align items? That would have been ridiculous. Let's go into button again. I have align content center. I just need align item center. Beautiful. That works. Align content is for multiple items in, like if you have more than one row of something, that's when you use content. If you have, but I just have one one literal item in there, so it's only align items. Yeah, there are weird rules for like when you use items versus content, but that's clearly an item. All right, that looks okay-ish. Let's add a little bit of spacing and give this whole thing a little bit of breathing room down there. Actually, breathing room even around the button itself. What was that? That button. Padding. So we'll go with top padding of var. We'll do 8 pixels on the top. Top and bottom 8 pixels, and then I think that's we'll not go any pixels on the left and right for right now. All right, that gives us a nice little bit there. Let's give that whole, actually, let's just do the same exact thing in the DT. Boom. I think I want this button even smaller though. I feel like that's too big even at the extra small size. What do I got? Extra small. Font size 12. Okay, minimum height 18. And then top bottom 4 pixels of padding, left right 12. So let's keep the 4 pixels of padding. Let's drop the minimum height down to 16 and see what that looks like. I'm gonna drop it down to 12. 10? I don't think I have a 10. 8? Eight is looking better. See, this is where I'm not a good designer, so I'm just trying to like come up with something that looks, I feel like a really small button. This was 8. That's too small, obviously. All right, 12. Let's go back up to 14 for the font size there. Let's drop this down to 2. All right, now let's drop the top and bottom to 0. This to 16. 20. That feels better to me as a button. Let me make sure the line height is yeah, I think that's good. I think that looks okay to me. So, all right, let me just copy these settings over real quick. So I'm 14. So yeah, 14, 4, and no padding and margin. Extra small. And small is now, I'll keep the 14. I'll get the minimum height to 18. And I think we'll keep this also 0 on small. So I'll go 0. I think I'll keep, actually, yeah, I'll go 20 on here also. It's all kind of a crapshoot guess for me on these things. So that looks fine enough. Again, somebody, you know, once a designer kind of looks at this, they'll say, that's crappy, and here's how you should change it. But right there, it's good enough for now. All right, so we have our address. I think that's letting, right? Line height is letting. Loose. Baseline, let's look at that. Oh, no baseline. Now, you know what? I'm keeping that. I don't even want to bother with that. That looks fine. Okay, so we have this thing. Let's change the color of that. Var color, just go with a gray because that's all I do is gray. Cool gray. 700. That's gonna throw an error. Forgot the semicolon. Heaven forbid. There we go. That probably didn't look any different. Beautiful. Okay, so that's looking good. And then if we go down into like, you know, this super small view, everything still fits nicely. All right. So that's that. We have our product name, whatever that's going to be over here. So we have, this is the place to change your billing address. Then we have to change, all right, so we're going to do, what did I say in there? Billing address. Now I want to have a list of your workspaces under it. So there's your billing address. Oh, credit card number, credit card. Let's do credit card too. This was something I got to look up because I'm not 100% sure on how to change your credit card number inside of Cashier. So I'm not going to do that now, but I'll just drop in the credit card number, and then we'll have to figure out how you can actually edit those credit card details later. So going back here now, we can create a new. I don't need this can be all in the same column, I think. So I'll just do this. Customer, I think it's last 4. Oops, what am I doing here? Let's take this and I'm gonna move that to the next line. Actually, I'll flip them. One, two, three, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that should be right. No. So yeah, what'd that do? Customer should be, I thought it was last 4. Card last 4. Card brand, card last 4. All right, so I'll at least show that. All right, now what I want is, this is where we're going to show like our workspaces. So let's just do an H2 for right now. Workspaces. What data do I want in here? So there'll have to be some sort of, this is a good question. What data am I going to want to show in here? I don't even know yet. Let's just do a TR. And we'll call it what? Let's say well, there'll be some sort of number, right? So like this is like space number 1, space number 2. And there'll be the name. Then we'll have what? I guess we can throw in here the name, the address. Oh no, we don't need the address. This will be like the URL. I'm not capturing this information yet in the workspace lookup table, but I probably should. So I'll put a TD in here for members. And maybe we'll even have like, this would be kind of cool, TD. Let's change that to ACTIVE, active members, and then inactive. And this will just be like your like box of stuff, like your like links and stuff in here. Oh, nope, yeah, let's do, yeah, I think that's good. So that's what I think what I want. So you're just like, it'll be a number, maybe even like a, checkbox or something, so we can do other things to these fields. So like, you click on 3, like if you have 10 things, you click on them, you can press a button to archive all or whatever, like things like that. Close these things or whatever. So we're just gonna give people a way to kind of do all that stuff in there. The numbers, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever those things are. Maybe we should put in the UUID for the workspace also. No, it's not. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Yeah, and then the name, so whatever it is, Joe's Fishery, the URL to that, which would either be, so this has got to switch between either the domain or the or the slug. That'll be fine. Then the active, again, this information I'm not collecting, which is the active versus inactive members. This is data all coming from the lookup table. So there's a lookup right here that has workspace ID, the slug, or the domain. So I want to put some more information in here when I grab this too. And I guess the other information I want to put in there, I think, will be just some generic info, like active versus inactive slugs. Yeah. There'll probably be some other stuff in here too that I eventually want to grab out of here. The idea is that I don't want to have to do, I don't want to have it's not that big of a deal to connect to the second database and go into like all like that, like deep into these things and figure all this stuff out. But I'm trying to just figure out if there's no reason to, or why would there be a reason to, I guess I should say. Just use the lookup table to get all of this information. And that might be important also. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to be structuring payments in a system like this, right? So one of the ways that you would do it is potentially through number of workspaces you have, or number of members. So maybe there's like 2 or 3 levels of product, right? So there's one where it's like, you know, pro, and you can have 50 members and 3 workspaces, and then, you know, there's, you know, business, which is 100 members and 1,000 workspaces, whatever. So then you're gonna have to like you may have to archive things or close things, but you want to check on these numbers and make sure you understand everything that's going on in your system. So that's where I'm trying to, that's why I think overall most of this information will be in the lookup table, because that will be kind of just a nice place to glance all of this information, I think. Or it could be on the customer table too. Gotta think about where I want to put all that, because the customer table has, no, the customer table wouldn't need that information. Yeah. Or maybe I just connect to the workspaces themselves and just grab all the information off of there. But for right now, let's just take this. That's the data I want. Here's what I don't have. If I save that out, go take a look at this. I don't have a table. So we got to make a quick design for a table. And actually, this is not going to be a quick design. It's going to be, because there has to be a bunch of different things in there. I want to actually have, I want this to be basically a data table. So I want to create, I want to be able to have like a search in here. It's going to have pagination built into this, I think. It'll have to have a couple of different things, but we can start with this. We can start this with the, at the very least, just the generic look and feel of what this is going to kind of look like. So class is data, or table data. So that's just going to be like the name of it, obviously. Let's copy this twice. Copy this one more time. And I'm going to put a T head around this. I think it's TH right here. How often I don't use tables is kind of funny. All right, let's go over here and just, oop, I'm inside the DL. Let's look at it now, because I don't remember what tables like look like really in a generic state. All right, ooh, that looks great. It's like I freaking didn't close something. TR. Did I misclose a TD? No. Oh, maybe this is, maybe, yeah. Maybe these are oh, fuck it. For right now, just, I know that works. Are these THs? There we go. Okay. That looks like something. First thing I want to do is just set that to 100%. So data table will be the width of 100%. border 1 pixel solid. I'm just going to do CCC for right now. These are just kind of stand-in styles. I want to make sure I can see everything. Let's do TDs, border solid. All right, so we can just, again, take a look, see all the TDs, what they're looking like. TD, I guess, comma TH. Okay. I don't think I have to worry about this, but I'm just going to do, I think I already have some baseline stuff. Let's look for table real quick. Yeah, I already do border collapse in here. Text line, inherit, good. All right, so that's taken care of. So I don't need to like do collapse or anything like that. Gosh, I don't really remember padding. Let's do a little bit of padding on these things. Let's just do var px4. I don't want to go heavy with spacing inside of these things, right? That wouldn't make sense. Yeah, just a little bit of breathing room around everything. And now we can do tr. I want to do it. I want to make everything striped. So tr, what am I doing here? TD nth of type. I think that's the right thing. And I'm going to say 2 n plus 1. No, we'll do 2n. Yeah, we'll just do 2n. So these are all the even numbered rows. So 2, 4, 6. That's fine. That can be background. That should be this. Oh, wait. Be this row. Got an extra. Add an extra curly brace in there. That should be good now. There we go. Again, not good colors right now, but just want to see, I want to just see everything. Copy this one more time. Okay. Yeah. That's looking fine. You know, just again, baseline styles here we're looking at. The problem is, as always with tables, is what happens when the whole thing gets too small. So oh, you know what I want to do? Let's go up here. I just saw that, but I think I want to make these centered. Double check that. Yeah, that looks better. I just centered that column so that way when it goes down to this view, there's spacing kind of all around everything, but it's nicely centered. It's not just blinked against the wall there. And let's see, I should probably do that for here too. Centered. Okay, that should be. Refresh. Not bad. All right, cool. So yeah, again, this table has got to be way better than this. This is not good styling. It's generic styling, which is fine. I should probably I'll make the headers bigger. Then I want to get in I'm going to want to put a search on these things. So I have to think about what the tool is going to look like in general, how I want this to be able to work. And I'm going to have to think this through a little bit. I'm not going to pull in a data, like most of the data table stuff that I've seen in the past is just, it's kind of bloated, and I don't think I need a big giant bloated experience, because they're trying to come up with, like, you know, if Merrill Lynch needed a data table and, you know, the smallest website on the face of the earth, what do they share in common? Nothing. So let's go for the Merrill Lynch size data table. And then and everybody can just use that because they'll always work. And I don't want that. I want just the smallest subset of features, which in my head is me thinking I want to do something like this. Let's think about this for a second. I'd probably want to say, again, this is pseudocode. I don't have anything written here yet, but it'd be like table, and then headers, right? And I list my headers in there. And then I'd say maybe there would be like a rows equal, and then data is equal to, and then this is where the data comes from. And rows. And then maybe I pass in, or maybe I pass in the data equals to this point here. I know a lot of them do like data and headers all in the same area, right? And you pass in an array of everything. I don't know. I want this to be super clean and super easy to use. So I'm, again, trying to think about my own experience using this. What do I want? I think I want something like this. And then the question is going to be what I'll call the managerial portions of these things, because this isn't just yeah, see, this is where things get a little hairy. I'd love to be able to have something in here where I can click where I can put like several buttons, right? Because that's really what this is going to have in here. This is a checkbox, but it says check, but let's make this more of what it is. So in this case, it would be should say one and say foo. And then there's going to be buttons in here. So the button would be edit, archive, delete. Yeah, that's probably it. I do there. So that's a little bit more realistic about what the data is going to look like in here, right? So that doesn't say links. It's just going to be in. I'll probably want to like center these checkboxes and things like that. So this is just kind of something sort of similar to this. Yeah. So obviously there's things here that we got to figure out what that's going to look like, how that's going to work. I want to get this. Yeah, there definitely needs to be search. These things need to be searchable, some sort of fuzzy search. I don't think any of this stuff is hard. I know it's not hard with via inertia or pulling the correct data out. It's more just a matter of what are the feature sets, what are the feature sets that I want these things to do. And I need this for definitely this page and definitely the members page. Like those are the first two places where I know I need this, but probably that customer service section that I was talking about in the beginning over here. This thing right here is definitely going to need that too, because that'll be a list of all the customers. So customer services is like the section for the super admins. So that's going to list all the customers. You're going to want to search by their slug or search by something to get that data out. So yeah, okay. So what I got to do tonight is sit down and think about what the hell this data table is going to look like and how it's going to work. And then tomorrow we're going to build that. And then the other thing I got to do tonight is figure out exactly how you can edit the card details in Cashier. And that's going to be tomorrow too, I think. So that's what's on tap for tomorrow. We'll edit card details and we will totally we'll get the data table working correctly. And that's it. So thank you so much for, I think it's time. Let me see what time it is here. Yeah. 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to head out for the day. Thank you so much if you were watching this. I really appreciate it. If you found me on wherever you are, Twitch or YouTube, thank you. Please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Trying to figure out which platform is better for me at this point. Is it Twitch or is it YouTube? So it's looking more like YouTube at this moment in time, but I don't know. I've been playing with the Twitch stuff. I think I'm going to do that again tomorrow. I'll stay on Twitch, and then I'll see for next week. Maybe I'll just purely do YouTube and see how that works too. So until then, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm just my name Joe Samflone on Twitter. So that's Joe, Joe, and last name is Cianflone. It's right there. You can see it in the top right-hand corner. It says joe@samflone.co. Please feel free to like me, follow me, whatever those things are that you can do on the social networks. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow, same time, 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, till probably about 4:30 p.m. Maybe I might go a little bit later. I think one day in the near future, I'm going to try to do like a really long stream where I'm like streaming for like 4 to 6 hours, just to try it, just to see what it's like to kind of do that. But that's probably going to wait till either like around US Thanksgiving time for that. So it's a couple weeks away. So again, I'll be here tomorrow, definitely for sure. So, thank you so much again for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will talk to you all tomorrow 2:45 Eastern. Bye.